Hello, and welcome to the Earthly Roots podcast,
where we chat all things gardening, homesteading, and connecting to nature.
We're your hosts, Diane and Robyn.
The Earthly Roots podcast acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea, and community. We pay our respects to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today.
Hello, and welcome back to Earthly Roots podcast. If you're watching the YouTube video, then you can already see that I don't have my normal co-host Robyn with me. Today, I actually have my partner Sam joining me.
Hey guys.
So we are going to be chatting all through our journey on the homestead and also moving into our bus conversion, how we've managed to work together, communicate, and essentially not kill each other in the process.
That's definitely been a bit of an evolution, I think.
Yeah.
A lot of learning.
I mean, it's definitely something we're still working on and will continue to, but hopefully this podcast just kind of sheds light on all the work we've been doing so far and kind of how we manage to communicate with each other, or more so, I don't know, kind of stay patient with each other when we need it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So how's homesteading going for you, Sam?
Oh, well, at the moment, it's been a bit of a scattered and few and far between experience for me. Mm-hmm. We definitely dove in heads first straight out of a city.
We did.
I needed a change, and we definitely made that change happen. And there's been a documented journey of the whole thing along the way. And then the entire experience has rocked my world between it being a huge hobby for you, which when we met, it definitely wasn't. Mm-hmm. We met in the city and spent our nights out eating food. Like, it was a very different lifestyle than now.
Yeah, well, I mean, I never grew up with animals of any kind. So the first time that we started thinking about homesteading would have been like 7 years ago, maybe a year into our relationship. And I mean, I always enjoyed animals and looking after them, but the thought of growing my own food in any way seemed like such hard work back then. But now it just comes so naturally. It's almost like I wouldn't know what life will be like without it. Like us on our bus journey next year and not having a garden or like livestock to look after, I feel like I'm going to be a little lost.
Yeah, I was having this conversation yesterday with Robyn's partner, Scott, and I was talking about how that's going to happen, isn't it?
Yeah. Sam just had a bit of hair on his beard. I had to get rid of it. It was going to bother me.
I was talking about how I've like scaled things back and I've reduced things back, and I kind of feel like I'm doing nothing. But then if I actually think about it critically, we're still doing tons just as like a sea-level default, like making the dog's food. You know, like we cook a massive batch of dog food every 4 days. And like a lot of the time, you know, because we have so many pumpkins, we can't get through them all. Mm-hmm. The dogs are eating from our garden. Mm-hmm. And that is a principle that we have picked up from homesteading and implemented into our lives. And now, like, even when I think I'm not doing anything, we're still doing that.
We are doing so much. And I think when we first started out, like, we had to build a lot of our garden beds. Like, you and I were so involved at the beginning, like maintaining the different trees and the shrubs around the property, like the bracken, managing all the animals that we did have back then, because we got chickens and pigs very shortly after. Yeah. And we did that all in the same process as starting all our garden beds. So, you know, building up the raised beds, adding soil to them, compost, because we were establishing them from nothing. And I think we were just so busy at the beginning that now, once we have established gardens and systems that work fairly well, except when chickens escape from them, of course.
Yes, that's inevitable.
And now that we're in that process where we're kind of getting to enjoy the harvest, enjoy the bounty of what we've created and built, it almost feels like we're stagnant or not moving forward. But in reality, like, what we're doing now and compared to where we were 3 years ago in the suburbs is very different.
Yeah, well, even thinking about something like eating at home, that was another thing we were talking about yesterday, was that when we're in the city, it was a hobby for us to eat out. And we were both working and doing hours that we weren't really happy with. So the compensation is that we were eating out like probably 5 to 6 times a week.
Yeah, because we were tired. We didn't want to have to cook all the time. And we
also
love cooking.
Food. We love food.
Yeah, we do. And I mean, we lived in Melbourne, so we were half an hour away from the city, although we tended not to go to the city as much for food. We tended to go to Glen Waverley if you're in the area, and they just have a great selection of Japanese food, Chinese food, all the cuisines that are a bit more affordable.
Before COVID, when it was like we could go out for $30 and eat until our stomachs burst.
Yeah. So when we first got onto the homestead and we had to kind of navigate, building the garden beds up, having these goals and ambitions of what we wanted to achieve, how do you remember back to how that felt for you when we first started out?
Yeah. Teamwork, dreamwork, really. Like I was here for 5 months before you got here. We got locked apart during COVID, and that's kind of like the first part of our YouTube journey is just videos of you in Melbourne patiently waiting to be allowed to come across so we could just learning things. And I established myself in a job and got this rental and then proceeded to not do much at all. It's definitely a dynamic in our relationship that is like it's a good thing, but it also does lead to like if we're like the teamwork is what makes us at home progress forward. And so like for 5 months, nothing got done in the yard. Like maybe I was
but what were you going to be doing on your own?
I can logically tell you what I would be doing. I was working, but I can logically tell you what I was doing. But like it's big difference. When you got here, I was working and we're in a situation where we're like, oh yeah, Diane's just going to work on the homestead and work on the YouTube channel. And then it was like, I would come home and you'd say, we're building a garden bed. And I'd be like, oh, I'm tired, but okay. And then we get out there and I'm like, oh, cool. Yeah, no, this is awesome. This is invigorating. This is fun. And then once the garden bed was built, I would walk away and go play some video games or something. And then your creative side would come out and I definitely have memories of like coming onto the balcony and just like being able to hear you like humming in the distance while you're planting your seedlings. Yeah,
or like collecting sticks. I remember loving just going out into our forest and collecting like little sticks to build our fires with while you'll be like chopping down huge logs of wood.
Yeah.
That's such a fond memory. But I guess that's kind of the dynamic in our relationship where we both dream up big ideas. A lot of the time, you're the one that kind of takes charge and dreams really big. Like homesteading was your dream before it was mine. And I remember when you first suggested it, I was like, oh, I don't know, like this whole living for ourselves on a block of land sounds like a lot of work. And back then it was just a dream. But then in our relationship, I tend to kind of then start taking the steps of, okay, if this is what we want to happen, how are we going to get there? Like we need to build the garden beds first. We need to go and collect wood chips to mulch them. We need cardboard. I cannot use a drill. I need to learn how to use a drill first, like all those things.
That's identifying that, not that we identified it early, but we've definitely identified it now, is that as Di said, I am the dreamer of the relationship. And then it comes down to how do we actually actualize it into real life.
You're the dreamer, but also like the builder. Because essentially I'm like the middleman that kind of puts in the steps. Like I'm the project manager, but you're the ideas man in the first place. I mean, not to say that I don't have ideas. Like now that we're a bit more established, I am able to kind of see what I need to make things happen or what I need next. But towards the beginning, it was mostly you that was, it's kind of like you're the big dreamer and I'm like the little dreamer underneath, but I've also got a system and a plan in mind and you're like my laborer to make it happen.
Yeah, but you can also see the path as well. Like if you put a plan in place, I think the reason you dream small is because you dream realistically.
Yeah, I've got big dreams too, but...
Yeah, but I have fantasies. So that's it. Like I mean, I have fantasies about building a boat and sailing around the world. Like,
Yeah, I had to put a stop to that pretty quick. It might still happen in the future, but at least for right now, we need to be on land.
there has been no discussion about putting that to a stop. Thank you very much.
It's on pause.
Yes,
Temporary
it's
pause.
absolutely on pause. Temporary, permanent pause.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I think that definitely, like, coming out here and my memories of how it was, like, firstly was when we initialized this project was definitely like me being overwhelmed, not really understanding how to do it, and then you getting here and being like, let's just start and, like, you know, put in a garden bed. We already kind of had like one garden bed, so it was kind of, we already had like a blueprint. Mm-hmm. But then from there was a lot of like, we should put things here and we should put things there. And I'm a perfectionist that's never able to actually achieve perfection. So I would do a lot of, that's not the best spot. You know, that's not the best spot for a garden. That's not the best spot to put the pigs. That's not the best spot to put the chickens. And it's like, I get paralyzed by searching for the most perfect option. Whereas you're
Make the mistake and then learn from it.
exactly
Yeah.
like pragmatic, realistic. You're like, we can have it here, so let's just do it, and we'll deal with the consequences as we do it. And it turns out the consequences of doing it that way are definitely not that harsh. They're perfectly fine.
Let's just let them
They're just
chat away the geese.
participating.
I do wonder how much it comes through the microphone.
Just a little bit in the background.
All right, then that's not so
It's a lot
bad.
louder for us than you guys. I guarantee that.
Enjoy the homestead ambience.
Yeah.
I was going to say too, on the point that you made before, but I forgot what I was going to say.
I have that problem all the time.
I guess in a way, the reason that I kind of tend to do that and just go and make the mistakes or just get started without really thinking it through is I think I have such a limited understanding of what could go wrong or why one thing is a better option than the other. And in a way, that's both my strength and my weakness is I'd rather just get started and figure it out. But some of the time that can make things harder. And I know that I've definitely done that to you when we've worked on a project where I'm kind of like, just get it done, like just put it in. We'll figure it out when it happens. Is there any project that kind of comes to mind when I have just kind of been like, nah, just go. And then maybe something hasn't gone right? Or has it always kind of worked out for us?
No, it has kind of worked out for us. Like, I get in my own way a lot. So you'll come up with any type of project anytime, and I will immediately start coming up with why it's going to be a disaster and why it's going to be a real pain to do.
This can actually be a really difficult thing in our dynamic. Like, it's definitely a challenge when we're trying to problem solve a solution to a problem. And I'm often very like positive and we'll just give it a go. And, you know, if something goes wrong, we'll just learn from it and everything will be fun. It'll be a great story for YouTube. And Sam just comes at me with like everything that can go wrong. And it's just like, drains the dream away.
I am a drain.
But it's okay because you come at it in a realistic sense. Like, you have a lot more understanding as far as building goes and construction. And at times I kind of have to remember that my ideas I haven't quite thought them through with the challenges and how realistic or unrealistic things can be.
Well, I also, like, when we're talking about it theoretically, when we're in the planning stage, I'm always mentally planning a much more perfect version of what we're actually going to achieve realistically. And that's my balance. So when we have this idea, like, Diane will come up with an idea, and then there'll be a standoff between our personalities as like, Diane's like, let's just do it and just see what happens. And then I'm more like, yeah, but if we hold off, we can achieve closer to perfection.
Yeah.
And then it's like, but if we don't do it now, we won't ever do it. And also weather, homesteading, you know, like, it might be the perfect time of year, or I might argue to hold off a month because in a month time it's better. But there's definitely a dynamic that plays out in the discussion phase. And honestly, I know from experience now that just doing it is always the better option. I have to overcome some hurdles to get on board a little bit.
It's kind of that imposter syndrome, and Robyn and I have talked about it in the past where because we're not just doing it for ourselves, we're also sharing it with a community of people. And sometimes like the people that watch our channels are much more established homesteaders or, you know, qualified builders. And it can be really daunting to put out our trials and errors when sometimes like you know that it's not the best step forward, but at least it gets us started. I guess that can be like a really big hurdle to overcome.
Well, when we're talking about like, I mean, food is applicable to every single human being on earth. And you've got a very small fraction of the population that are recording themselves doing this and presenting what they're doing. And the ones that we see, because they get all the views, are these people that are really qualified, really motivated, day in, day out, like up at 5 a.m. Like the last thing they do is...
They have the time, they have the money.
The commitment and the mental motivation to just keep at it every single day. And we watch those people, but they are on the extreme ends of the motivation and the drive scale. And I think that we're a good grounding of what it's like, you know, like the
we're
average
just different
person.
People.
Yeah, we're different people, and we're closer to what, like, I know. Like most people that I talk to, like my friends and family and stuff, they're just like, oh, I already know that I would just never do any of that. And it's like, well, we are people that, I'm definitely the kind of person that spent a lot of his life being like, I'm never going to do that. And what I learned and the moral code I developed and how I wanted to live my life motivated me to just give this a crack. And so I kind of feel like that person who would never have the energy or the motivation to do it, who has just made the conscious decision to be like, nah, enough of that noise. We're going to just give it a crack. And I'm not going to go for the extreme achievements of like, you know, the Justin Rhodes and the really impressive clickbait YouTube-y stuff. And we're just going to build our stuff with pallets, and we're going to focus on the things that are important, like caring about the animals, and just if it's ugly, it's ugly.
Yeah, but honestly, that's been my favorite part of what we do. I've really enjoyed reclaiming things. I've really enjoyed just using what's around. Like when we first got onto this property, there was so much just old building material laying around. Like our first garden beds are made with slabs of wood that was left over from the house build. And there's something so special about using something that will have just sat there and rotted away into nothing, or just been trash in landfill. I've really enjoyed that we've been, and I know that it adds that element of challenge. Like when I come to you and I go, hey Sam, I want to build a bus, but I only want to use like pallet wood for it if we can, and only salvaged materials. And you go, oh, but the wood's not straight and it's bowed and it's going to make it so much harder.
Yeah. Like with the bus is a perfect example of the dynamic, because like the way it plays out initially is that when it's still the dream, like we haven't bought the bus yet, we're watching videos on YouTube, I'm dreaming huge. Like I'm dreaming massive. Like, oh yeah, I'm going to turn the front seat into like an office space. I'll be able to take the steering wheel off and like
take all my gear that fits in a whole room onto this tiny bus.
Exactly. I'm going to hang all my guitars on the walls, and I'm dreaming really big. Then we buy the bus, and then it's Diane's turn to dream big, and just like, we're going to build it all completely out of completely sustainable materials, and we're going to recycle everything.
Yep.
And then it's like, all right, well now I actually have to build it. We're going to have to compromise on a couple of our dreams. For example, none of mine are going to make it in.
Oh, that's so not true. We're making it work.
I'm exaggerating that. But like, I definitely had a couple of dreams that I was like, yeah, this will be sick. And it was literally like, it's just me on the couch just imagining like what could be possible if I had unlimited time, unlimited motivation, and unlimited budget.
But the thing is, with it being our home, we've got this goal to finish our bus in 10 months' time. Our hope is to get onto it after our wedding and go and travel. But in reality, we're going to have it for as long as we wish to have it. So if we don't get to put in all our dreams and the things we want right away, we have years ahead of us, months ahead of us, that we can still add those things in over time as we realize that we do truly, genuinely want them.
Yes.
And of course, once we settle on a block of land one day, we'll be able to stretch out and build onto the bus so that we can have those extra rooms for the extra things that we like. I mean, the possibilities are endless, really.
Yeah, well, I think that's the best for us. Like we both respond really well to change, and we both respond really well to our plan doesn't need to be that thought out that far ahead. In fact, I'm a better version of myself, being the kind of person that moved over 40 times. We've been here 3 years, guys, and this is the longest I've ever been in one place my entire life. Like my brain doesn't like it. It's rebelling, So I think it's perfectly suited that decision to have it open-ended. And, like one day maybe we do make one or two of the dreams that I dreamed up a reality. But we're in the building phase now, and we want to move into it. So we're in the realist phase now, where we're like, all right, no, this is actually how it's going to play out.
Yeah, so rewind a little bit. So far we've talked about we're homesteading. So we live on 25 acres of land, and for the last 3 years we've raised a range of different animals for meat. We've also cultivated quite a few gardens to grow a lot of our own produce, be able to preserve it and all the things. And now we're transitioning into, hey, we don't have the money to actually buy the land right away. We can't afford the houses in the current market as it is. But we do still want to have home. We do still want to actualize that and feel like we're moving forward and that we're not just sitting ducks. And so right now we're in the process of converting a school bus into a home. I have spoken about it in the past on our podcast, but also on our own YouTube channel. We've talked a lot about our dreams and our goals. We actually have a video all about our big dreams, whether they're realistic or not. And we talked about looking back on that video, like when the conversion is done and being like, yeah, that was silly, or that was brilliant. I wish we could still do that.
Yep.
And so we're converting this bus into our tiny home. And the idea behind it really is, and chime in if you want, it really is, instead of waiting for the land and feeling like we're not progressing, let's build the home first, let's travel, let's move forward, and hopefully one day our perfect block will come.
Yeah, I think the decision was perfect coming together of all of our goals, but also our disappointments and how they revolve in. And the biggest disappointment was that we moved up here and the market was stable for a very long time, and then we got here, and while we were in the process of preparing ourselves to buy, COVID changed the market.
Yeah.
And that was like cripplingly disappointing. And so we had to look at our 5, 10, 20-year plan and be like, all right, well, the buying the land thing isn't going to be the first thing on the list now. Let's look at the second thing. All right, build a house. Like, well, how can we build a house if we don't have the block of land? And that's what the bus is, essentially. We want to build our home so that when the day comes to buy the land, whether or not it's ends up being step 5, step 6, it's still on the list, and we're not just kind of giving up just by hitting one roadblock, or we're not overcommitting to that one thing. Like, because we could have bought, but I would be working a full-time job, and I would definitely not have the energy and effort to do any of the things that we want. We wouldn't be building a bus.
We'd be sacrificing the lifestyle that, we came out here to live. I mean, I've heard of a lot of people, building the van, building the bus first, and then seeking the homestead. But in a way, we've had to transition where we're doing it the opposite way around. And I mean, you can see relationships out in the world doing similar things with marriage and babies. Like, there's people that have babies first before marriage. There isn't just one recipe that's right for everyone when it comes to relationships. There isn't like the perfect step-by-step when it comes to homes and living on the homestead either.
Yeah.
And in a sense, I think that's testament to how incredible we are in our relationship, where we support each other in these dreams that seem almost crazy and like, why would you do that? That's so obscure from like the normal or like from what everyone else is doing, and it feels like it's come out of nowhere. And that's where like your fantasies kind of allow us to see, and mine as well, allow us to see that life doesn't have to be the status quo. It doesn't have to flow in this just one
linear
direction. Yeah, we can go in and out of different phases. And I know that homesteading will always be something we come back to, because it comes back down to our morals. It comes back to why we think life is worth living and the way that we choose to use our time, our money, and our brain space. Like, this is important to us.
Well, the experience has definitely taught us a lot as well, because as we said, like we're pretty new to this, guys. Like most of the animals that we had on the gardens that we've done, the things we've planted, it's all been first time attempts. So we're learning what we actually enjoy doing and how we're best to spend our time. And it's been like really beautiful to watch Diane go through that experience, because she's really found a hobby between filmmaking and gardening and the homesteading. Like, she thrives off it. Like, I'll come home and she'll have preserved something, anything, pickles, and the smile on her face is reminiscent of the smile on her face when she's playing with the dogs. And guys, that is pure joy. Like,
there's no greater love than the love for a dog.
Yeah, like I have to accept in our relationship the level of jealousy that's just the ocean floor for me, because the joy she gets from the dogs, and then subsequently the hobbies that homesteading provides is just, it creates joy for me to watch that. But for me, I've also I have been the laborer, like the getting things done, which definitely suits the dynamic well. But I'm learning that because of this this change kind of flow in my life, where I've constantly been moving. Like, change is not only not scary for me, guys, but it's like my brain wants it. I'm constantly looking for the next thing to change. And I have this this trend where something changes, there's a big change, and my motivation levels are just sky high.
You get really focused on it.
So focused and so motivated and so excited to do it. And I just like work on it constantly, and then that kind of like drops, and then we're sliding downhill. And what I've been able to reflect on is that in my past, my solution then, whether conscious or subconscious, is to make another change. And then I make a change, and then bam, my motivation's up again. So that's kind of this perfect dynamic of going onto the bus as well, because as we said, we want to get in the bus and we want to travel around, but we want to focus that around our morals, the lifestyle we want to live, and Diane's hobbies as well. So we want to be able to go to places, which for me is a change, like someone else's property, and then do these activities with them as well, which is like exciting and a dynamic that we're kind of learning about ourselves after spending the 3 years and kind of moving towards. So
yeah, I think homesteading has just been a really healthy step for us in so many different ways. Like, you can argue that, spending time out in the sun and with your hands in the soil has, a very healthy effect on your brain and like your emotional and social well-being. But physically, it's also incredible. The amount of wood chips we're having to like shovel, the amount of wood we're carrying through the property, trying to carry like massive mobile chicken coops and trailers full of compost. So physically, it's fantastic too. But as Sam said, like, gardening and filming has become a massive hobby for me, and I almost felt lost in the city not having hobbies. I always jumped from thing to thing. Maybe painting's my thing, maybe sewing's my thing, maybe scrapbooking, and just never really finding my purpose and what I wanted to do. And because of that, I was then bothering Sam and wanting to spend more time with him, trying to fulfill that like void of not having something that I could independently enjoy myself. And cooking was always something I loved, but there's only so much food you can cook in a day, especially when you don't have a garden and things to preserve. Like, I'm not going to just cook meals all day because we're not going to eat it all. So now moving on to the homestead, I can actually make our own bread. I can preserve pickles or tomatoes or rhubarb, and I have those things that I need to cook and do things with. I have the videos to work on, the garden to maintain, and in turn, it's meant that I can independently keep myself busy and really feel fulfilled and enjoy that, and give Sam the space he needs. So then when we come back together, we're really excited and passionate to work on our project together, as opposed to feeling like suffocated for like just being on top of each other the whole time and being like, I need my space.
Yeah, like I'm not going to lie. There was a couple times in Melbourne where the thought went through my mind, like, you really need like a hobby. Like,
and I knew that too, but it's so interesting when you're surrounded by so much, like there's so much possibility and opportunity in a city or in a suburb. Like there's so much you can do, but it costs money.
But when we were in the city, it was really challenging for us because we were struggling with environmental issues. We were challenging our morality when it came to food, and that was leading to a lot of unhealthy resentment, especially on my part, where I found myself by default having a negative image of other people. And so it was kind of like an unhealthy thing to begin with, because it was like going to the country wasn't just to grow our own food, it was to just get away from people entirely. Yeah. And that made it really difficult to, like, we had a plot of land in the backyard. It was quite small, but it was large enough that we could have grown, like, we could have fit all of our garden beds that we've got on this property into that backyard.
And we did try start a garden. I'm not quite sure what happened with that garden. I think it was just
I feel like we were
too much.
We were disenfranchised by our situation, and we were in a yard where we were in a 4-bedroom brick house, and all of our neighbors were in massive modern 2-story housing, and every single one of the houses around us could see directly into our backyard.
Yeah.
And we were really struggling with the idea of not having the privacy that, you know, living in a city, like we weren't even like in the depths of the city, guys. We're in suburbia. Yeah. And there was just a lounge room. You open the blinds and everyone could see us from the street. Mm-hmm. And I think that, like, we definitely had the opportunity to do that in the city, but it definitely took the change to move out here and kind of make that happen.
To kick this off.
Yeah.
So what are some of your favorite tasks? What kinds of skills or jobs do you find that you bring to the table or that you enjoy doing the most on the homestead and on the bus?
Anything to do with fire. Anything to do with fire is just at the top of the list.
Arsonist?
Yeah. No, I think like, because of the comfort, like, at the end of the day, guys, I do a lot of work, and I put all this energy in because I like to feel fulfilled and comfy and cozy on the couch at the end of the day, and not feel like,
we all do.
Yeah, like I've got to get something done or anything. And chopping firewood, collecting it is like, it gets the heart pumping. You're working towards a goal, and that goal really resonates with me. When I light a fire, I just
Speaking of fire, all of a sudden I can smell someone's like fireplace going.
Oh, it does smell nice.
Yeah, that's so funny. What other jobs do you like doing?
Oh God.
Do you like taking over the building side of things, or do you find that a challenge?
It's a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm good at it. And like I said, I'm a perfectionist that can never achieve perfection. So my brain is always like doing the calculations, and I'm able to problem solve really quickly and come up with solutions. And they're not always pretty, but they definitely work. But the problem is that I have to be motivated and invested to enjoy it. And I don't necessarily always have a choice in that. Like, often things have to be done. And if things have to be done, but I'm not interested or motivated to do it, then it becomes like pulling teeth.
Yeah.
And so the problem is that often that happens with things that I actually quite enjoy doing. Like, I've worked jobs where I'm doing a certain amount of building. Like, I was a glazier working as a glazier for quite a while. And even in those jobs, there were aspects where I was like, yeah, this is a job that I enjoy doing. And I know I enjoy doing it because I hate every other job. And this job is the fun job that when my boss tells me I've got to do it, I get excited. But then I come home, and if I'm wanting to do something else, like play music or, you know, like cook some food or something, then that job that I normally enjoy doing when I'm motivated and interested becomes pulling teeth.
Yeah, it's kind of like you feel you're torn between all the things you want to do and have to do. And
Yeah.
that can be quite a challenge.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally, as far as the homestead and things go, I love that you help and take charge of the building project, and I get to kind of enjoy the creative process of putting my seeds into the ground and growing it and maintaining it. And on the bus too, like being able to plan and organize things. But I really do love when we work together. I think some of my favorite moments on both the homestead, building our gardens, looking after animals, and now converting our bus has just been the days where we've both been out there together. We might be working on the one project. It might be a situation where you're building and I'm just there chatting and like laughing and making jokes to keep your spirits high. Or it's one of those days where we both have different things we're doing. Like the other day, where we just had little things that we needed to finish off on the bus. I needed to finish off dealing with the rust and taking off rubber. You were dealing with, getting the bolts, nails, screws, something down under the ground level and just finishing off those things and just being in each other's space, having the music going was just such a lovely, wholesome environment to be in. And like that freedom to be able to stop and, have a dance or have a chat, go and get a coffee or a smoothie and pace ourselves through the journey has been such like a little luxury that you can't get from a normal job.
Yes. And I think if we're talking about like that subject specifically, then I would say the pigs.
Yeah.
Have been the highlight for me, because the pigs really embodied us working as a team to achieve something. And I really do feel like it was us achieving something because we went against like standard advice.
We did.
We were getting all the equipment, buying all the equipment. I was telling people what my plan was, and everyone was like, "You're a madman. That's never going to work." And I knew it would because we'd spent hours on YouTube watching people do these exact systems. But everyone locally was just like, they're a nightmare, they get sick too easy and they break out.
Such a bad rep around here, didn't they?
I was really shocked.
Yeah, we loved having our pigs. Like I'm dreaming of the day we can have pigs again.
Just to be clear, guys, we had a very similar experience with sheep, and we're like, they were wrong about the pigs. They'll be wrong about the sheep, and they were right about the sheep.
Well,
so 50-50.
The sheep also happened like when we both got COVID, and then we had to still deal with them getting out of the fencing and walking down the hill like during like this awful sickness.
I was also like with the sheep, I was also initiating a stage in my life where I was leaving the homestead more. With the pigs, I was leaving for work, but I was more or less here all the time.
And I guess also the sheep came after 2 years of being stagnant. And as you said, like your brain and your psyche really thrives with change and needing something new. And I guess because we had been doing so much of the same thing for so long, like sure, they're different animals, but we're still working them the same way.
Yeah.
And then other factors come in and you feel like you kind of... And that's the thing with homesteading is you're setting roots. You're trying to do the same thing again and again, and you're dedicating more and more time to being here. So that must have been a huge shift for you.
Yeah, well, the entire experience has definitely been a huge shift. And you're right, the system between the pigs and the sheep. Well, I mean, with the pigs, we were both very invested in that. Like Diane was feeding them in the morning, I was feeding them in the afternoon. We would both work together when it was fence changing time. At that period of time, I was working and Diane was spending a lot more time at the homestead.
Yeah, because I was casual. I wasn't, I didn't have a position at my school yet.
Yeah, so there was a lot more opportunity for like, if I had a job to do, Diane would kind of be floating and filming and that was really pleasant. And then when we moved to the sheep, that was when our dynamic changed. Diane was the one that was working and I was at home doing the editing of the YouTube videos and I was working with the sheep. And I was doing a lot of stuff alone and it was very repetitive and there was...
And you thrive on having other people there. We've always spoken about, like, I'm kind of someone that can be alone or with other people, but you really thrive on having someone there.
I would go as far as say as I deteriorate when people aren't there.
Yeah,
like
very
it's not just thrive. Like people fill my cup, and that was also like moving out here was something that I really learned. Like I always knew that I was extroverted and I love going out. Like I was always the teenager where if anybody wanted to do anything on Friday or Saturday night, they knew that I was keen by default to do something. And then we had that whole issue in Melbourne where we became kind of like, disconnected from those things. We made the choice to move out here for the wrong reasons. And now I'm learning that it's like, oh, wait, there was a reason why I was in the depths of the city, and there was a reason why I was going to see music bands every 3 times a week. And people fill my cup. And the pigs represent that. We were spending a lot of time together and working as a team. And the sheep, I was working alone. But also the pigs, we got reward after 4 or 5 months. I think it
wasn't a long period of time.
Yeah, whereas the sheep, I was working with them intensively for a year, I think it was. Mm-hmm. And we didn't get a single kilogram of produce from them.
Yeah, that was a bit disheartening. But that's the thing with taking on projects is sometimes they go well, sometimes the challenges, take over and something just doesn't work out. How do you feel with working on the bus now as we move into building it and all that goes? Because a lot of the time you are working solo on the bus. So what kinds of strategies and things have you been starting to put into place, whether it's, with me or on your own, that allow you to keep at it? Because it is a project that takes a lot of mental time and effort.
Well, this is a good opportunity to transition to how mental health flows into it. Because as I've said, I need people around me. People fill my cup. Also, you were the one working away. I'm home alone. So I'm in a situation where my job essentially is to build the bus. And the answer is completely overwhelmingly daunting. Mm-hmm. I remember when we bought the bus and we bought it in, just the bus sitting there being the looming job that had to be done and having no idea, all these dreams and no idea how to execute, no plan.
It's a big job.
Yeah, it definitely paralyzed me. Mm-hmm. And I've had to really learn a lot more about myself and really adjust the way that I approach things to be able to
move forward.
Yeah, break those patterns that my brain implemented, and you happen to be the perfect puzzle piece to kind of finish it off. But we've been at a stage with the bus for so long where it's your contribution is from the sidelines more.
Mm-hmm. And I felt that too. I've definitely expressed this to you and also on our YouTube channel. There's just certain jobs at the moment where I don't have the skill set nor the knowledge to execute them. And it's kind of like a single person job anyways. And so I have a lot of the little tedious things and, they still need to be done and someone needs to do them. But I feel like I'm kind of waiting for my chance to really shine and to really contribute and to be a part of it. And I'm really keen. I want to build kitchen cabinetry. I want to put insulation in the walls and close up the walls. I want to be, creating something. And I mean, we'll get there. But at the moment, we're at that point where we've got to kind of finish things off that are below the ground and,
Well, I can very happily say that the hurdle has been jumped and now we are steaming forward, which is awesome. But there was definitely a large period of time there where I was completely motivation paralyzed and I would... Even though the bus was a priority, I would put it lower on the list because of how daunting it was. And then I'd prioritize something.
And it would feel like it's all on you as well. Because, you've got to get the task done. You're the builder. You're the skill set. And I can see that even though I wasn't putting that kind of pressure on you, that is in the back of your head. That,
you're just waiting. Waiting to be able to do the things that you want to do.
Patiently.
And, very, very patiently. And, it's honestly been I've had to learn a lot about myself. My brain has been rebelling against this process, and it makes sense. So
what helps you? What helps you get started on those days where it's rebelling against you?
Oh, nothing. I'm completely at the whim of my. That's why I'm trying to explain. What I've been learning is that. I've never taken on a challenge like this ever in my life before. And a part of me knew that it was going to be one of the hardest things I ever embark on. But because of our morals and our goals and our dreams, I made the decision to just go for it and let's do it, and whatever happens, happens. And then I hit these barriers and I hit these brick walls, and I've had to like really step back and be like, why aren't we progressing? And that has kind of led me down a pathway that I know for certain is going to make me a better, more efficient person that's going to be able to achieve our goals much more efficiently in the future.
Isn't that reflection just so important? Like whether you're talking to someone else, whether you're just talking to yourself and trying to unpack the way your brain works or your motivation for things and your passions, like just being able to sit still for a moment and think about what's happening and how can I move forward because I want this to happen is so important. And I think we really underestimate the power of conversation and the power of self-reflection.
Yeah, or like it. For me specifically, that those things are very powerful for me, but also identifying what does fill your cup. Like I keep saying that socializing fills my cup. And the answer is like what motivates me to get out there? Going and spending time with other people and being inspired by the effort and energy that they're doing fills my cup up and gives me the inspiration to be like, yeah, I'm going to go tackle that job that I've been putting off for forever because I want to get it done. And so that's learning that, but also that's really difficult, guys, because you know, I have a couple of days where I get literally nothing done, and then like I know the answer is that I need to just go spend some time with a friend or like go around to someone else's place and help them with their projects so that I'm actually like got my hands on some tools, because spending all your time in the space where you're getting nothing done is like, it's a snowball effect that leads to more procrastination, more not getting things done. But then when the answer is go and socialize and have fun, it's pretty hard to have
justify that.
Yeah, I've got nothing done. Hey, I want to go to a friend's place. It's like really? And it's like, the answer is yes. Yeah, really. Like this is what I've learned about myself. And
as far as in like a partnership, the way that it's worked for us is because, I mean, it could be taken as Sam going and just socializing, but he never just goes and does that. He'll come to me and he'll say, hey, I need to go, you know, spend time like on my music. I need to go spend some time with a friend. And then tomorrow, this is the job I'm doing. And that level of communication not only helps him to be accountable and actually get the project done when he comes back, it allows me to have that peace of mind as a partner to know that things are moving forward. And I think that's been really powerful and something that you've done to include me in that process.
Yeah. Well, I mean, overcoming a lot of hurdles, because like you said that in like 2 sentences, but the reality is that that process takes us a couple of days because I want to get the job done. So that's my priority. And it's like, even though I'm not really progressing or I'm going out and I'm not really getting the job done, like I won't let myself. So often it'll be like Diane comes up to me and she's like, you're not moving forward. What do you need? And then I've got to be like, oh no, I'm good.
Needing that, yeah.
Yeah, but that's a support. That's a support thing, because then you saying that makes me go, okay, like, all right, let's be real. Why aren't I getting this done? What do I need to do to make this happen? And then we can have a discussion about it and move forward. But like, yeah, it's been really challenging to come to those conclusions because I wanted the answer to be, oh yeah, no, I just need to, you know, like, play a video game for an hour and maybe like
solve the problem.
Yeah, eat some ramen and then calm down and then I'll go tackle the job. That's what I want the answer to be, and so badly tried to force that to be the answer, but it's not.
Yeah. And sometimes just like there's been moments where one of us is stuck on a project, and one thing that's also helped is just by communicating it out loud, saying like, this is what I'm trying to work out. This is the problem that I've had. The other person, if they've got some free time, they can then start to research some different options. So I spend a lot of time watching bus conversion YouTube videos, getting inspired, getting ideas, seeing how other people have done it, and also just watching people do the build and problem solve in different ways. So sometimes like a problem that can happen is we tend to see things from one way. We see a problem and see one or two solutions, and those two solutions may not work, and then we feel like we're at a standstill. The world's against us. This is never going to get done. I'm not going to move forward, and this has to be done. And like, what do I do? And so sometimes just being able to go and be inspired by others, see some other options, and then bring that forward when we've got a brand new day or a moment of calm and clarity. And sometimes you're so funny because you'll be so stubborn about it, being like this is the solution and I can't hear any other solution. And I'm like, all right, honey, I'll just let you fume about it for a moment, and then he'll step away, and then I'll just give it a go, and it works out. And I'm like, hey, just so you know, I tried it a different way. And that doesn't always work, but like when those moments happen and being able to laugh about them and just move forward, I think just create that positive space to just trial. And you've been more and more open to it since.
Yeah.
At first, it used to be really difficult. Like we would just butt heads because we would have two different strategies to a problem, and neither one of us would want to or be able to communicate effectively the strategy and give it a go.
Or relinquish the control.
Yeah, because we are.
Yeah, we're both leaders.
Yes, we are. So that's been a bit of an interesting thing to solve between us. But we've gotten to the point of working more and more together where we kind of know when it's our turn to just be silent and listen, or when it's our turn to kind of step in and give it a go because the other partner needs it, even though they might not choose to say that they need it.
For me, it's definitely the development of real, actual trust in the relationship. Because when we were separated for 5 months, I remember you went out and bought a drill and you're like, I'm building a box for the dog food. And I was like, sweet. And I know for a fact that if I was there, I would have intervened, shown you the best way to do it, done this, done that. And the reality is that you didn't need that.
Yeah, but it took me 3 days and a massive migraine to get a little box done.
Yeah, but you did. And
I did it, yeah.
But the powerful thing in that situation is that, like, because I was completely hands off the situation and then you finished creating that, I was then able to, like, when you said you wanted to do something and you wanted to work on the tools, my contribution then became like, here's how you do it safely, not here's how you do it.
Yeah, and I really appreciated that because I was working with a drop saw for the first time without anyone there to help out if something went wrong, as in like physically there. Yep.
And like those kinds of tools are really scary. So like being able to stand behind you and give you like the safety advice so you were able to like attack it confidently, but then I wasn't even physically there to be able to be like, no, don't do that. Put the screw in this spot, or like brace it this way. I wasn't there for that. So then you were able to problem solve.
Yeah.
And then because you achieved that allowed me to just be like, oh, cool. Like she's completely capable of all this stuff. So, and that built up like a real trust that I noticed within myself of you, where I could say, oh, go do this thing. And that thing in my brain that goes, the control freak, the leader that's like, I make sure she's doing it right, has like left.
Yeah.
It completely went away. And I was able to just be like, do your thing. I trust you, you know?
And that's nice. Thank you.
Yeah. No worries. We've kind of covered everything broadly, and I want to bring it back to how things have progressed over time. And hopefully like this can apply to you if any of you guys are looking to get into gardening and you have a partner and you want to work as a team, that it's an ever-shifting dynamic, and the dream will change and reality definitely kicks in. Like what we had imagined we would be doing when we were in the city and planning this is completely different.
I never thought we would have a bus.
Yeah.
and be ready to travel Australia in 10 months' time.
Yeah, whereas like I was completely convinced that I was going to be like full farming and have all these animals and being like, and just be happy, you know, and
carefree life.
Yeah, like just carefree life.
No
you know,
problems.
Just, you know, good healthy work, like good food, and then I failed to take into account that I'm human, and I have a personality and I have likes and desires, and that's been really cool. And don't let that, like the disappointment that may crop up that will crop up along the way, don't let that get in the way or cause problems for you. Let it be the guide that allows you to decide what direction you want to move in.
I love that. Change is inevitable.
Yeah.
My favorite quote.
Change is inevitable.
Yep.
Yeah, it works for me.
I mean, in this world, and we know in the last 3 years just how quick change can happen with the dynamic in our world and everything that has gone on and is continuing to go on. And as humans, as like a teacher to my students, we need to realize that change is going to continue happening, and how can we problem solve and navigate through it.
Yeah.
So we're happy.
And don't place too much pressure on the status quo before the change happens.
Yeah,
because if you really like lock into an idea or a dream or something and you're immovable, you are just going to be disappointed. You're not going to end up in a situation where you're content, because contentment changes. 3 years ago, I was very content to be moving pigs and like expanding and putting up fencing, and I was out in the yard every single day. And now contentment to me is working on music and finding a balance between the goals that I want to achieve at home and the goals I want to achieve outside of the home. That's a moving target for me. And that's something that Diane's had to suffer along with, the moving target of Sam's dreams.
That's all right. No, I've loved it. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast today, Sam, and thank you for sharing your thoughts on working together as a pair, our journey through homesteading and bus conversion through your perspective. I know Robyn personally has been really excited to listen to it as well, and cool. I'm sure others who are following along in our journey have as well. Did you enjoy your first time? Yeah,
it was a really nice discussion. I feel like I'm never one for staying on topic.
But that's the fun of a podcast.
Yeah, but at least the journey was fun.
With both of us together.
Yeah.
This would have been just one big tangent. No, I think it was a really great episode. And if you are interested in checking out anything more about our bus conversion, our homestead, or anything that we've talked about or that we do have a YouTube channel. It's called Diane and Samson. Just our names, nice and simple. And we have recorded our journey from moving up here to New South Wales all the way up to now, and we'll continue to. So yeah, if you're curious about what the bus conversion is looking like at the moment, our dreams for it, anything to do with our pigs, our sheep, our failures, our successes, it's all there.
Yep.
Okay.
Cool. Thanks so much for listening, guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yes, and don't forget to check out the Instagram page for our podcast. Robyn and Scott will do their own podcast soon as well, or maybe you've seen it before this, I'm not sure. Anyways, we'll wrap it up there. See you guys next time.
See ya.
Thanks, baby. Good job.
Thank you.